So I wanted to give a testimony on how I went from Jesus to African spirituality and back to Jesus, and just how God has been there and been present through it all. Um, I, s- I started practicing African spirituality in June of 2019. The driving force was a failed 12-year relationship. 5 of those years were married. And to take it even further back, I first officially got baptized when I was 20. Even though I had been in to church before with my mama, which was when I was like, I say from 10 up until the age of 14 when I hit puberty. And I hit the rebellious stage. But I still prayed. But yeah, it was just a lot. Starting from, not having my father in my life. Being that he was killed, I believe a month or some months before I turned 1. And just growing up in a broken home, of course, it's a few of us that can attest to that. And living in and out of shelters as a teenager, and I said at the age of 14, my mom sent me to stay with my aunt, and ever since then, I bounced around a lot, staying with different family members, cousins, aunts, uncles. And then once I met my husband, my ex-husband, when I was 17, and I started back going to church with him and his mom, because his mom was a minister, her and I believe 5 or 6 of her sisters. And I got into church. And so then I ended up going to my family's church and getting baptized. And I can remember at about, I say in about 2012, I left my hometown and moved to the city where at the time my boyfriend was from, and just pursued a life of my own. That's where I got my first apartment. I was working 2 jobs, and I just had in my mind that I had set out in my mind that I was going to live right and I was going to live for the Lord, and that this was the man I was going to do it with, and that this is who I wanted to marry, and this is who I wanted to have children by. And at the time, he had gotten into some trouble and went off to prison. So I just took that time to really get myself together and to do my best to mature and become a better woman, so that I could be a good wife and a good mother. And throughout the time, we battled being homeless and the premature birth of our second child, and again, still bouncing around from living with family members, in and out of shelters, and living at hotels and stuff, It even got to the point where we were sleeping in the car with our clothes and my children. And I was just tired, and I felt like maybe I was on the wrong path. It was a lot of domestic violence, and our families having their say so. The baby mama drama, everything. Like it was a lot, and I prayed, and I tried to stay in the church, and I tried to wait until I'm finished. Go lay down. Close the door. Excuse me, but I was doing a lot of praying. I done my best to stay in church. I even tried counseling. I tried reading books and just tried getting wisdom from advice, not only from family members and friends, in which I advise you, if you're married or you're about to get married or you're a newlywed, not to do it, but just trying to get guidance from both people that I shouldn't have gotten guidance from and older people, even people that I didn't know. I just used to randomly ask them questions, and some of them did give good advice, and others they didn't. But so it lasted from the time we met up until June of 2019, when I just felt like I had enough. And just for the sake of timestamps, we got married in 2012. The marriage lasted for 5 years until I divorced him in 2017. But even after, I still tried, because in my mind, I wanted to give my children something that I never had, and that was a family. That was a full family. And I wanted to do what my grandparents had done. And my grandma and my granddaddy stayed married until she passed first in 2009, and then he later passed in 2018. But I wanted to break that curse. I wanted to beat the odds, and I wanted to get off of welfare. And I thought that me getting married first and having children and living right by the word, and trying to, raise my children up in church, and just basically staying with the same person, growing old with the same person would be it. That would be my ticket out of poverty and out of being another statistic. But it wasn't. And so I figured maybe I was on the wrong spiritual path. So I say somewhere around my 5th month being pregnant with my second child. Wait, yeah. 4th or 5th month being pregnant with my second child, I began to look into my roots and my ancestry, and just trying to learn to love myself and to embrace my roots more. And I figured that's where my self-love would come from. That would help me to get my self-esteem back, because I had lost myself. For one, I hadn't lived enough to even get married. And for two, I was just torn and I was broken. And at the time I was blind to how the Lord had been there the entire time. But so on the 2019, I'm embracing my African roots, looking into African spirituality, and I don't remember exactly how I learned about Ifa or how I got into it. It's like it just came naturally to me. First, it started with me burning sage, you know. Then it went from me burning sage to me burning candles and buying crystals and, you know, um, listening to African meditation music. And I just had like this undying love for Africa and animals and just the whole African theme. And I still love it to this day. But I didn't, I didn't, I didn't realize the error of my ways until I was in too deep. I started going to African festivals that were centered around a certain deity. And the word does say that, you know, that we serve a jealous God and that we are to, there's only one true and living God. And when you begin to call on other deities and the names of other gods, you know, that's where the sin comes in at. That's where the problem comes in at. And you're giving offerings to other gods and other ancestors. And namely the deities are demons. Um I had, to be honest, I had my times where I you know, I was happy, but they were short-lived, and I lost more than I gained. I ended up moving out of my apartment beforehand, and I ended up moving out of my apartment beforehand. Excuse me. But I ended up moving out of my apartment beforehand and moving in with my dad, and so now me and my children are crammed into one bedroom. I gave away most of my stuff and sold some things, but from what was left of a 3-bedroom apartment, it was that and me and my 3 children crammed into a 1 bedroom of a 2-bedroom house. And I began doing rituals and keeping up with the phases of the moon and, you know, studying numerology and astrology. And I lost my car. I ended up going through a number of jobs, in which one thing I can attest to is that I've never had a problem getting a job. But then it became hard for me to get a job. It became hard for me to come by money. I began having more mental breakdowns and having suicidal thoughts and crying more often than not. And And so I started watching tarot, and I became addicted to tarot, and so much so to where outside of doing house duties, that's all I wanted. I wanted to watch because I wanted to know what was next. You know, what to look out for next. I wanted to know what was coming. And another thing I gained along the way was I I ended up falling in love with someone that I met, and like all relationships, it has its problems, and that became the main drive for why I wanted to watch tarot all the time, because I wanted to know, you know, if he was coming back, when he was coming back, what was he doing, and what I needed to do. I began looking towards numbers and technology as a way to communicate with what I thought, were my ancestors. And eventually it just got to the point where I became confused and delusional. Worried, um, lost in anxiety. So by this time, it's August of 2020, and it was to the point where, let me say, I had done moved. My Section 8 worker ended up calling me and telling me that, because she was out on vacation when I had moved, that I could use that as we could basically use it as an excuse for me to get back in my home, because I didn't know that while she was out on vacation that she was in an accident, so I didn't know if it was okay for me to move or not, and it was a legitimate reason. But I'll get back to that. But so I done moved, and I'm in this house, and by this time I'm dealing with paranormal activity in my home. My children are hearing their name being called as if I'm calling them in my voice and I haven't called them. They're seeing people standing in the living room window, just different things going on with the television and the lights. And I was just tired. And one thing about us, and I'm saying humans, is when we're lost and we can't seem to find our way, the first thing we do is we go back to what we know. And so I went back to what I knew. I went back to the Lord. I went back to praying. I went back to the Bible. And it's funny because around this time I also started seeing the New Age to Jesus testimonies, maybe like a month or so before. And I was just like, nah, I'm just I'm just doing something wrong. When really it was God calling out to me, because I had forgotten. I had forgotten about him, and I was ignoring his presence the whole time. While I'm thinking like the Lord had forgot about me, and I'm thinking that he didn't care, and I'm thinking maybe that he wasn't real. I forgot about all those times he was there. And a lot of the times we're allowed to go through so that we can gain wisdom, and so that we are built up in character, and so that we do have a stronger and a better testimony for people that are currently going through the same thing that we are going through, or that have been through what we are going through, or maybe in times to come. But so I began to clean my house out. I began to throw away things that I had bought and maybe picked up along the way of practicing African spirituality and numerology and cleansing or clearing chakras. Is demonic. A lot of people are going to be upset because I'm saying this, but it's the truth. It's demonic. My candles began to burn black. Like I said, my babies began having nightmares. My son ended up seeing, all he said was he seen a red monster running through my room. Like, you know, I just have to call it like it is. And so I started listening to prayers. I started listening to prayers while I was asleep. I started playing scripture over YouTube throughout the night and throughout the day as I cleaned. While I was cleaning my house out, I started playing gospel. And it helped. It helped with the nightmares. It didn't happen overnight, but it helped. There's no anxiety and worryation. Day by day, it came down. It got better. And slowly but surely, things changed. And I feel like the Lord allowed me to go down that path just to see and just to show me that there is no other God that can love me the way that He does. There is no other God out here that can do for me and keep me the way that He does and He have. Go ahead. And I'll say that because now I'm gonna go back and tell you how He has and those things that I did forget. For example, hold on. Okay, so just starting from my teenage years, when I was out there smelling myself and, you know, sleeping around, and when I ran away, and how He kept me from so many times where I could have been snatched up, where I could have been raped and killed, because those were the situations that I subjected myself to, where He saved me from becoming another drug addict out here. Because I could have, my first time trying X, I could have overdosed because I took more than what somebody should have took for it to be their first time. Where He, you know, just saved me from being a loose female, you know. Or how when He kept my daughter here, because when she was born, she was only 1 pound, 15 ounces, 15.8 ounces. And she was basically 3 months early and had to stay in the hospital for 3 months. How He made sure, me and my husband had somewhere to lay our head while I was right just before that, I was walking around out here with a dress, some sandals, um, and all I had was $5 to my name, and I was what, 5 or 6 months pregnant, and I took that $5 and went to Burger King and got me and my husband a burger and a fries to split so that we could have something to eat. And that same night we went to Bible study and asked the church for help, and they gave us one of the rooms in the church to lay our head in, and we stayed there for I think 3 days to a week until one of the church members opened their doors up to us. How he made sure we had somewhere to lay our head until the church gave us the house, the church house, to live in rent free, you with all the utilities, and church members donated furniture to us so that we could have a bed, and so that we had living room furniture. And so that my unborn child had a bed and a playpen, so that he had diapers. I didn't have to start buying him diapers up until I had enough diapers and wipes to last until he was like, I want to say 4 or 5 months. I didn't have to buy him any clothes. How I've had family members to open their doors to me plenty of times after I had done enough to burn bridges with them. How I've always been able to get a good government job, regardless of if I qualified for it or not. Me being able to do for my children, regardless of being unemployed. My children lack nothing. And through all of the living in and out of shelters, living in and out of hotels, they don't remember any of it. And most of all, they're happy. Just another thing that I don't want to forget is having an earthly father, because my biological dad, like I said, was killed, but while I was a baby, and my mom's ex-boyfriend stepped in and vowed to take care of me and my sisters, and to help her with me and my sisters, regardless of them not being together. And I kid you not, he was there every step of the way. Whenever she wasn't able to do for us during school time and buy school clothes and school supplies, he was there. Toiletry items, he was there. He basically spoiled us. When she didn't, whatever she didn't want to do, I could go ask him and he would do it. So God was always there. It's just when I decided that I was tired and I tried to take matters into my own hands, did I kind of mess things up for myself. But then again, we can't mess anything up for ourselves, because there's no problem that's too big for God. There's nothing that he can't do. And I've seen that. So, and I know people gonna there's still gonna be people that doubt, and there might be people that, naysay, but It might call me a Bible thumper, or I am. Oh, Jesus ain't real. He is. And whatever. He's real. And he's been there the whole way. My daughter's still here. He's alive. I'm still here. He's alive. And I'm in my right mind. I have a sound mind. He's here. And most of all, I'm able to forgive out of everything that I have endured this past year and those 12 years. I'm still here and I'm in my right mind. And by the grace of the Lord, I didn't go out here and get on drugs, and I didn't give up on my children, regardless of how many times I wanted to, how many times where I felt like I could have. Because drugs and alcohol is another curse that my family, certain family members are battling. And it's by the grace of God that I'm not one of them. And he's still working on me. He's still working on my family. And I know he's going to deliver them. I know he's going to save us, but it's on his time and not on mine. And I'm sure their testimony will help to free and deliver some people. But just for those of you on my Facebook page that are turning to the new age, don't do it. There's a few of you who I seen that your faith was strong in the Lord, and you have turned to the new age. You have turned to tarot. You have turned to the clearing chakras and tarot and all that. Don't do it. Stay with the Lord. I promise you, he'll prosper you and do way more for you than those tarot cards can. You don't want to get trapped off in that stuff. And it's not always an easy deal to get away from it. And another thing I want to say is the more that the enemy tries to fight you mentally,